Welcome to the Knowledge for Men show. Your life will never be the same.
Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development.
I want to die empty of regret. I want to die empty of my best work. We don't understand who we are. Instead, we're living out somebody else's narrative.
What one man can do, another man can do. If it's been done, it can be done again.
Being yourself and being your truest, most authentic self in every moment. If it scares you or makes you a little afraid, do it. Follow your heart and your gut.
The first stage, I think, is finding you, like finding out who I am today.
Stuff will not work. You will have things that fail. Success is when you're a happy, fulfilled person. How do you define success?
It's your life, and you are the creator of the movie script that is your life story.
Knowledge for Men is now doing live men's retreats in San Diego, California. Imagine 3 days of intense personal development training with 10 other like-minded men all pursuing greatness in life, business, and their relationships. You are not alone on this journey. Come to San Diego and experience The Awakening, a real cutthroat program designed to give you the tools you need to go from where you are now to where you want to be. There are only 10 spots and it's filling up quickly, so go to kfmretreat.com to learn more and apply for the program. Again, that's kfmretreat.com. All right, guys, welcome to the show. I'm here with Christine Horner. She's a 2014 Dayton Literary Peace Prize nominated author, a humanitarian author, blogger for the Huffington Post, and co-founder of the What Would Love Do Foundation. She's also the author of Awakening Leadership, Embracing Mindfulness, Your Life's Purpose, and the Leader You Were Born to Be. Christine, I'm happy to have you here on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
All right. And I'm excited to have you here too. So much experience and a wealth of knowledge you have. So let's dive in with a favorite success quote of yours or some sort of saying that you've lived by.
My favorite success quote, actually, I'm a huge fan of Albert Einstein. And my favorite quote of his is, "Imagination is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is limited to all we now know and understand, while imagination embraces the entire world and all there ever will be to know and understand." And that's my favorite quote.
I like that. And how does that relate to the book, Awakening Leadership?
Imagination allows us to expand our minds outside of culture and conditioning. And the result is this book. And that's simply by sitting in contemplation, pondering things, wondering about things. Why are they the way they are? And how can we change them? What do we need to do? And so all creative endeavor is really tapping into that creative aspect that's inside of you that is unlimited potential. And each one of us contain unlimited potential.
Yeah, hence the book Awakening Leadership. I feel like it's about bringing, through imagination, you can tap into that power that you're talking about.
Exactly. And you have to have an open mind to do that. You have to be able to go outside the box and explore even wild ideas. And when you the stepping stones to do this, it's amazing what your mind can tap into. There really is a wealth of knowledge floating around the entire universe. If you want to really go deep into the message, that you can tap into at any time just by opening your mind. And, some people have used drugs to do that in the past, but you really don't need drugs. You just need a nice walk in nature. And some of our greatest thinkers they spent more time outdoors than they did indoors. And they spent their time in nature on walks. And Tesla, Thoreau, Emerson, Einstein, huge fans of nature. And they spent quite a bit of time out there.
Yeah. I think we're spending too much time on the smartphone. I think smartphones and smart TVs that's where a lot of the time goes. How did you get into this position that you're in now? Could you share with us a little bit about how you got started with what you do?
My quest is the enlightenment, the awakening of human consciousness. And it sort of all happened by accident. And it simply came from my background being a strict religious denomination, which is not important which one it is. And even as a child, I questioned it. I questioned everything, and spending a lot of time outdoors in nature, because I'm from the generation, I was raised during the 70s and 80s, where we didn't have all these electronics, that I was literally kicked out the door, and my mother locked the door so that we couldn't come back in and bother her for the day, that we spent our time out in nature. And it made me question everything. And when you begin to question everything, that's when life gets really interesting. And so this has sort of been a lifelong quest of questioning everything. And as you continue to do that, you gain more insights, more wisdom, and young or old, wisdom can come to you, but certainly through the decades, more and more comes to you if you're open to receive it.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. It's like younger generations didn't have these tools that you're connected to everyone, that you're just the games, the video games, all this stuff, all these TV shows. I think it's creating a society where we are listening more so to the media than ourselves. Like you said, questioning ourselves. You said when we question things, that's when life gets interesting. And yeah, I like that a lot. It really brings this point up.
The beautiful thing about the younger generations, Generation X, Y, and Z, well, I'm the X, but Y and Z generations, is that they are questioning everything. They're not being indoctrinated like we were when we were younger. So they are beginning, because of the plethora of information that's available on the internet, which is the beautiful side of technology, is that you have so much information you can tap into and you can discern for yourself. You can gather information and say, that just really doesn't sound right, and you can question it. So there is a wonderful side to technology as well, but it's also wonderful to take breaks from it, just like you said.
Absolutely. So what is genuine leadership, and how can we connect with the leader that's inside of us? How do we tap into that?
Genuine leadership is a transition that is happening as we advance in consciousness. We're going through a quantum leap in consciousness right now. Especially, it's so exciting to see the younger generations almost practically born with this instinct. And the internet is helping with this as well. Our expansion of consciousness used to be all about me back in the 80s and the 90s. And because of social media, it's become we, and we're becoming socially conscious. We're expanding out into the world, and this is a wonderful thing. And what we're learning is that we have the power to be the change. And this is new because in the previous generations, everyone expected and looked outside of ourselves for power, authority, and leadership. And the power and authority and leadership is actually contained within us. And we're discovering this because of social media. So it's very exciting. And the new leadership paradigm, Andrew, is that each one of us has the power to make a difference when we are consciously aware of our actions, and that every step that we take, rather than creating divisiveness, which is a habit of the older generations, as you well know, in the old politics and that type of thing, but in the younger generations, we come together to create unity so that every contact that we make with another human being is an opportunity to find common ground, which social media is allowing us to all find common ground, and to say, hey, how can we come together and prove this, fix this? Let's collaborate. And it's really exciting, the things that are happening because of collaboration.
Yeah. And how does mindfulness and self-acceptance unlock this personal limitation?
Well, we're discovering that each one of us has particular strengths. And this is coming out again because of all the opportunities that collaboration is calling forth. We're saying, I'm really good at this particular thing. Maybe I'm good at communication. Maybe I'm good at different things. So first, number one, we tap into our strengths. We are more aware of our individual strengths than we've ever been before. Before, we were taught to you go to school, get your education, and you get out in the working world in the industrial revolution, and you get out and you mass produce, you mass work to get the American dream, the house and everything. But things are changing, and people aren't so interested in materialism as they are exploring their individuality. And this is really exciting because through mindfulness means to become self-aware and to explore that and to remove judgment from around yourself so that you see, wow, I'm really good at this, but maybe I'm not so good at this. So I'll collaborate on this part that isn't so good. But what I'm really good at, I'm going to tap into that. I'm going to cultivate that, and I'm going to create space around that to create more opportunity to develop it even further. So this is a feedback loop that's happening as we connect with more and more people, even globally. Within our local community is very important, but globally is also very important. And the amazing ideas and inventions that the 20-year-olds are coming up with, the 25-year-olds, the 30-year-olds. It's absolutely incredible, Andrew, what's happening at an exponential rate.
Are you talking about like technologies and new businesses that are being started by this generation?
Oh, absolutely. We have young kids, teenagers who are inventing machines to clean the ocean, who have come up with diagnostic tests for cancer, who have come up with solar lighting that have just been waiting to come out. And because they're able to tap into this information and knowledge through the internet, it's been amazing, all of the things. But not only that, there's an inner strength and power that we're tapping into is the result and the most important component of creativity is going within. And we talk about that a lot in Awakening Leadership, the book, about how going within, your source of power is not outside of you, Andrew, your source of power is inside of you.
And to really tap into that source of power, how can we disconnect from our automatic pilot of living and really just start allowing us to begin living a life of choice and choosing to bring us more joy and reconnecting with our life's purpose?
And you nailed it exactly on the head. It's choice. And that is removing our lives from autopilot. Exactly what you're saying. We must cultivate time when we first wake in the morning. It is just automatically habit. And I even have to fight it to want to get on the laptop and see what's going on out in the world. But I make time, like this morning, I wanted to dive into work because I've got a lot on my plate at this time. But instead, I shut the lid of the computer and I went on a 2-mile run. And going out on that run, I had a wonderful insight. And that's the one that I mentioned earlier, that we spend more time out in nature, that the greatest thinkers all spent more time out in nature than inside. And that was so important that I posted it on Facebook today. And so we must make time to turn off the machines, limit laptop time, limit phone time. In fact, I got rid of my iPhone. I got rid of my smartphone and I just have a regular phone now because I figure it can wait. There are things like that you have to make time for. And it's tough because technology is so fun. Not only fun, but it's an addiction. So minding that addiction, bringing awareness to it, connecting with people on the human level, making sure you spend time with your family, your kids, your loved ones, connecting at work, those types of things, and building those relationships is where we have to remain mindful and focus.
So having that balance between the two, it seems like this new, technology, what's happening today, has its positives and there's also the negatives where it's kind of taking us away from our own social systems.
Yes, exactly. Find the balance in between local and non-local, between the inner world and our outer world, which is the yin and the yang of our lives. And keeping that balance is always been tough. But it's almost even a little more tougher now because we have so many more choices. And having even more choices isn't always the best thing for you. I know as when I was growing up, I really didn't have very many choices and I was extremely happy. And I know the satisfaction level for kids isn't quite the same as it was in my day. From a recent study, I wish I could cite the source, but I don't remember it off the top of my head. The kids are just so inundated with information and technology. And it's real important that we find that balance.
Yeah, it's like analysis paralysis. Like the more information we have, the less action we take, the less results that we get.
That can happen. So making time for nature is, I cannot tell you, Andrew, more than anything else, get out and walk, get out in nature, get out on your bike and be 12 years old again. And if you are 20 years old and you're riding your bike, thank you. Just get out and do more of it. It is so fantastic just to free the mind to expand it. So it is, I recommend it more than anything in the world.
Yeah, it sounds really refreshing. A part of the book, talking about leadership, what can be learned from great leaders of the past? And you mentioned a lot of really famous, successful people in the beginning.
My favorite leaders are Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Mother Teresa. They all held a vision in their mind. And In the old paradigm, the old leadership paradigm, it seemed that only a few of real leaders understood this vision and held on to it. But something is happening as we shift consciousness. And I'll tell you exactly what the shift is, Andrew. We are moving from separation consciousness, the idea that we're all separate from one another, to unity consciousness, to the new idea that we are all indeed interconnected. And the great leaders of the past knew this. Martin Luther King knew that we were all interconnected and interdependent, and that we are one. And as such, equality is the natural, inherent outworking of our interdependence. So in the new leadership paradigm, and it seems because of technology that the children being born today seem to automatically understand this and know this, is our interdependence and that we are one. And this is the vision that all of the previous leaders that we hold to be great in our minds understood, and they held that for the rest of us. And the calling for them to be leaders, they didn't just rise out of nowhere. It was all the individuals, all of us behind them. So all of Martin Luther King's supporters, they understood also that that we're all interconnected and that we're all one. And it was a feedback loop. So Martin Luther King wouldn't have existed if it weren't for all the supporters behind him, and vice versa. So all the supporters that came up to rise behind him also was because he was there. But now what's really exciting, and we saw this, I am so excited because what we saw in Charleston, South Carolina, was this in action. We saw tens of thousands of people come onto the bridge to hold hands, to join together in unity. And there was no one in charge making this happen. They just did it. And this is the new consciousness in action. And this is the new leadership paradigm where each one of us takes responsibility for our corner of the world. And we reach out to connect with someone, to build something, to grow something. And it's love. It is literally love in action. And Charleston, South Carolina, as tragic as it was, brought something so beautiful to the world to see that it just brings me to tears practically every time I even talk about it.
What was that event? I'm aware, but what is the event so someone listening can research more about that?
Oh, sure. With the Charleston shooting, there was a shooter, of course, that went into the church and massacred several people within the church. So as a response, there was not the looting in the neighborhoods, the rioting that had occurred with the Boston episode of the youth being shot by police there. Charleston chose a different course of action. Rather than looting and rioting, causing a big violence, perpetuating what the tragedy, they immediately shifted the tragedy to a message of love, of unity. And I was just on that bridge in April. It's a huge spanning bridge. Charleston sits on the water by the ocean, and there's a huge bay in there. And of course, there are, islands that they have these huge bridges that span. So they all walked on the walking portion of the span of the bridge and held hands and hugged each other and cried. And thousands of people, they made this decision. And they all acted under their own guidance, their own inner authority to do this. And it was such a showing of love that I believe because of that, and because they chose not to riot, etc., that more action, positive action and changes, they were the change. And more positive changes have come out of that outreach of an outpouring of love than we've ever seen happen so quickly before. It was just amazing.
Yeah, I'm on my computer, obviously, so I found an article that really captures a lot of this on the Huffington Post. Thousands walk hand in hand across Ravenel Bridge to show support for Mother Emanuel Church. Just for the guys listening, they could search that, Huffington Post, a ton of pictures really capturing some really emotional images here of people on the bridge connecting in unity. So, yeah, this is good. Thanks for sharing this. And now let's dive into a part of the show I call the knowledge round. Just going to ask you some rapid fire questions just to bring out more from you here. So are you ready for the knowledge round, Christine?
Okay.
All right. Someday I'll go after my dreams. Someday I'll take action. Wouldn't the world be a better place if we were all inspired? If the world wasn't full of uninspiring people? We're all taught that life is tough. Life is hard. But the awful truth is that life is easy. It's pretty easy to live and do just enough. But truly living, chasing your dreams is hard. What are you dying to do? What is it that lights a fire in your heart? Don't wait till someday to answer this question. There is nothing more important than figuring that out. We're all dying, but if you're not chasing your dream, then you're already dead. Guys, go to kfmretreat.com to apply for my retreat that will change everything. Go to kfmretreat.com to apply and be part of a program that will be a catalyst for redefining your life. Welcome to the Knowledge Round, where the guests will be asked rapid-fire questions to give the audience invaluable pieces of wisdom to help transform their lives. Starting in 3, 2, 1, showtime.
Now, the first question I have for you is, what advice would you give to someone who's feeling lost or unsure of their purpose?
Well, first of all, I would say go for a walk. Immediately go for a walk and get on your bike and begin to ask yourself, what do you value? And right there is your launching starting point. When you discover what do you value, what is important to you? Is it creating community? Is it, do you want to help end homelessness? Whatever it is you value, then I suggest you take action. So figure out what you value and find some way to volunteer. I cannot tell you the benefits of volunteering to your soul. If you're feeling useless, depressed, if you're not sure what to do with your life, immediately figure out what you value and start volunteering, even just a couple hours.
Yeah, it's good. I get asked the question a lot, and a common thing that I see is that the person is reading a lot, spending a lot of time in a consumption state where they're reading, listening to podcasts, which I recommend, but on YouTube, instead of going out into the world, instead of going out and experiencing life. And I believe that you can really discover that through experience.
Yes, you've gone internal too far. So again, that's the balance again. You need to get out and get out of your own way and actually get the focus and attention off of you, because that's, the focus is way too, it's too narrow. You've put a beam on yourself, and that's so easy to start saying, woe is me, instead of saying, wow. You're saying, whoa. So let's say wow instead.
All right. Okay. And can you name a person who's been a mentor in your life? And if so, who is this person and how have they impacted you?
Well, I'm one of those readers that you were just talking about.
Okay. You're like, leave them alone.
Well, no. It's a wonderful thing. But like you say, we go through periods where you contract and expand. So I went through a 5-year contraction where I was reading everything that I could get my hands on. And I did this for about 5 years. And then I started to expand again. And I wanted to take everything I learned back out into the world. So hopefully, you're not all going to do 5-year contraction like I did. But I went through some pretty tough things. I had a daughter, 11 years old, who was diagnosed with cancer, a brain tumor. And so we went through a really rough time. And I focused and put my attention there. And while I was going through that, I read everything that I could get my hands on. So there is no one out there. I have read so many books by everyone, and you put together the big picture pretty quickly when you do that, along with your nature walks.
Yeah. And so on that 5-year journey of just really diving in and learning and self-discovery, what would you say in that period were 2 of your most influential books, and why?
Some of the hardcore spiritual teachers that teach non-duality, if anyone knows what that is, that Siddhartha, Paramahansa Yogananda. If you're familiar with those books, you know who I'm talking about. I would say those really had the greatest impact on me. That really got me to the core of the message, that my greatest insight is that God is not an outside intelligence separate from us. God is creation. And that changed everything. That's the switch right there that flips you from separation consciousness to unity consciousness. Some people get it directly. Some people get it by going through the back door. of realizing that we're all one is that God is creation, and that changes everything, and that changes your life.
I like that. And what would you say now? Actually, let's go into this. It's a scenario. So imagine you had 60 seconds with your 20-year-old self. What would you tell her to do, and what would you tell her not to do?
Oh, my goodness. I don't know if it's something that I would tell everybody. I dove immediately into the working world, and I was in the corporate world at age 20. And, if I were 20, and I have a 19-year-old, so I don't even know that I want to tell him this, because the status quo is we tell kids, go get your college education and get into the work world. Well, I would say, quit what you're doing, get your pack back on, and go explore the world. There is no greater education. Then go get your college education, or get it in between, or whatever. Just get out there and explore the world. And that's what I would say to my 20-year-old self. And lighten up, girl. Lighten up.
Okay, and just curious, you're talking about traveling the world. Where would you go?
Everywhere. I would explore Europe, and I have yet to do it. I tell you what, because I went right into the working world, and I got indoctrinated into our culture and conditioning, which was go immediately, get into debt, get the house, get the corporate career, all of that. This is years ago, before I was self-employed. And so, you know what? I got locked into all of that, and you don't have any choice then. So where's the choice in your life? So that's the other beautiful thing now, as people discover their inner genius and they're cultivating it and taking it out into the world, you open up your world to choice. You don't have to work for that corporation. You can create your own. You can create your own inventions. You can write your own ticket. This is something new and exciting, because our youth are writing their own tickets. And I didn't know, because that's what we were taught, when I was 20. And I'm really not that much older than you 20-year-olds out there. I know it sounds like it sometimes, but I would say go explore and keep yourself as free as possible. Get your education. I don't care how you get it. There are many educational ways, levels and ways to get it. Get your education, but go explore and don't tie yourself down.
All right. And so now, even if you have to summarize some of your main points, what would you say is your philosophy on life and success?
I would summarize by saying my success is the search of knowledge on all levels. There's the material world and the immaterial world. Seek both. Look for the bigger picture. Hold on to the bigger picture. And even when life doesn't seem to be going your way, go with it. Just be excited. Take every challenge that comes up as an opportunity, and don't try to control your life. We've been taught, you can make things happen just by controlling your thoughts, really, life is flowing under its own power, and you are a part of it, and you do have some say in it. But let life flow, because life knows better than you what's best for you. So be open to that. Don't be rigid in your choices, saying, well, I have to do this or I have to do that. No, you don't. Just be open.
That's good. Really refreshing. All right. So that's going to conclude the knowledge round there. And now, Christine, share with us what's exciting you today. Like what's getting you rolling out of bed in the morning?
The fact that I am free now. I am totally free as a writer, being self-employed, that I get to collaborate with people like you, Andrew. And I was looking at your site and the wonderful support that you're offering. And this gets me excited. For everyone out there listening to this podcast, you have an opportunity to collaborate and to create and to get out into the world. And what is it that you love doing? And seek other people who also do that and begin to collaborate. This opens everything up to you, all possibility. Even if you are in that 9-to-5 job, I'm not saying quit it. Keep it, and in the evenings and in the early morning, begin to put together partnerships, collaborate with ideas for new products, services, for writing, for there's something that you've experienced, an aspect of life that no one else has. You have something to share. Start sharing what you know, because there is no one like you at all. So if you're feeling sad and depressed and just not sure what to do with your life, start with what you love and start doing more of it. If you love bike riding, find everything out that you can about bike riding and how to bike ride around the world and become an expert.
Yeah. You said like, oh, I'm excited to be free. I have what I was searching for. What was that first step that you took to get that freedom? Because you came from the corporate world. So how did you make that transition? It must have been very challenging. You must have had a good salary in the corporate world and just to quit, or what did that look like for you?
Well, I don't recommend my path. I actually, I can heartily tell you, don't do as I did. But again, the universe orchestrated it. I wanted it, and the universe orchestrated it. I said, put me on the fast track, universe, and the universe did. And I'm telling you, if you want to not be put on the fast track, then don't put in that request, because what ended up happening, Andrew, is I lost everything. A home, went through divorce, had young kids at the time. I lost everything. And I cannot tell you what a blessing that was to be free of material things, because everything that you own owns you, and to be free of it. And I'm going to tell you something. When I said I'm free, I own nothing but this laptop that we're talking through. I own nothing. I have a private foundation that when anything does come in, that it immediately becomes, part of the private foundation so that it can be turned into public good. But owning nothing and being a steward rather than an owner is the new rich, and is freedom. So I wrote an article about it. It's called Stewardship is the New Rich. And that means keeping yourself free and open. So I would say to everyone, don't quit your jobs. Just begin where you are and begin to cultivate the type of life that you want to live. It doesn't have to be radical like I went through. But, if you want to, you can.
So what I'm getting is a shift from a consumption state of mind to more of a production state of mind. So like where you're producing the value that you provide to the world, whatever that may be.
Yes, rather than serving the self, which is another thing that our culture and conditioning here in the West has taught us, we serve the greater good. And that's not sacrificing the self. People get scared when you say something like that because, that means I have to give up this and that. And no, absolutely not. There is no greater reward than serving the greater good. And there's something that you are really good at and an expert at, or you can become an expert at. And you could be an artist, you could be a songwriter, you could be an amazing skier or skateboarder. Share it with the world. Make it who you are. Make it part of your mission to share it and outreach to the world, where you can involve people who are lost, who don't know what to do with their lives. And when you show how good you are at what you're doing and spread that around, you're going to really increase the happiness factor for yourself and everyone else around you.
I like this. This was like a bonus little piece we were supposed to end a while ago, but this has been good. This is a huge mindset shift that even I've begun to adopt as I left the corporate world and started doing this whole blogging, podcasting thing, which really I never started this to make money. I was just doing it to record my experiences for myself when I first started. I was like, people are reading this? People are going to my website? And that's how this started. And it was that shift from consumption to production. And I really think that's a powerful, that it could be, you said you wrote a blog post. It's almost like you're another book. It's a big topic.
Oh, it is. It's fantastic. And I am so thrilled that you have done exactly what I talk about in the book, and you have become the shift, and you are being the change by doing that. So I'm so thrilled for you, and I'm thrilled for everyone listening to this who is ready to make that change.
Thank you, Christine. And how can my audience follow up with you in the future?
They can go to my website at Christine Horner, HORNER.com. Of course, I'm on Facebook as well. All of my books are available on all the major retailers. You can find me anywhere. So just look for Christine Horner. Now, there's a Dr. Christine Horner. She's another Christine Horner who is a brilliant lady, but I am the author, Christine Horner, CHR, and the last name Horner, HORNER.com.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing your story and lessons and being vulnerable here on my show. Christine, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Knowledge for Men podcast. Hundreds of interviews and 1 million downloads later, we're continuing to build an international movement, and we've just started. So if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and leave a review in iTunes. It really helps to grow the podcast. Guys, 2015 is the official year of living with purpose, where every day you do only the things that matter to you. You wake up, live with purpose, and take massive action towards the life you want. Check out kfmfree.com to get free tools I've created to help you crush life. Again, that's kfmfree.com. This is your host, Andrew Fairby, and I'll see you in the next episode.